welcome back to Let's Create with Alex Blake. I'm your host, Alex Blake, and today we do not have a guest on the pod. It is just me for a solo episode. I feel like I've had guests on the podcast back to back to back to back, which has been amazing. You guys know I love community. I love coaching. I love creativity. And that's really why I started this podcast, those three things. And when I have guests on the pod, it has been amazing because I get to have all three of those things, like learn about their creativity, feel inspired because of their stories, feel coached and get to learn from them, but also like invest in community and get to know people. So it's been amazing. But I am excited to be here today because it means that it's just me and you. We get to chit chat a little bit. We get to get comfy. So if you are newer to the podcast, then you don't know, I usually get my little blanket. So I'm going to do that now. You guys can grab a blanket too, unless you're driving. Please don't get too comfy and cozy while you're driving. I'm not going to be responsible for that. Okay. But anyway, I have my blanket on and we're going to get right into it. So actually, no, we're not. Let me give you some life updates. It's been a minute, guys. Well, let me tell you what we're going to do today, and then I'll give you my life updates, okay? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do something new that I haven't done before. We're going to call it the Ask Alex advice column. I feel like there needs to be a theme song after that just because it's fun. Not that I know like the answers to everything also, just to clarify. I have done like a Q&A one episode, but I feel like Ask Alex is just like a cutesy way of saying it. So yeah, again, I don't know the answer to everything. I'm just living life, experiencing things, and I'm grateful that as I have experiences, I get to learn things and then talk about it. So really that's all that this is like, hey, I'm just going to tell you about what I do in my own experiences, and you guys can learn from it if you want, or you can just listen and let it go in one ear and out the other, because that's kind of what a podcast is, you know? You guys just listen while I yap, really. Anyway, I'm super pumped for our very first Ask Alex, and we'll get to it in just a second, but life updates, genuinely, guys, since photo camp, it's kind of weird because I feel like my life has been like slow, but faster than normal slow season. You know what I mean? Like this whole year has been kind of an interesting one for me where it's just been like quicker paced in my photography world than I'm used to. And it's been really exciting and it's been awesome. But I think I expected after the October photo camp for my life to kind of go into what feels like normal. But I don't know. I think since moving to Charleston 2 years ago, I'm still learning what new normal is for my life. And yeah, November did not slow down as much as I expected. And then, yeah, we just got back from Georgia last week. And Zach and I have so much traveling coming up, which is really exciting. We're going to Florida. We're going to like Jacksonville, Florida, kind of randomly for like his family vacation for Thanksgiving. And then we're going to go to Michigan to visit Charlie and Cassidy. So that's going to be really fun. You guys heard Cassidy on an episode a couple of weeks ago, and she has her own podcast a lot of you guys listen to. Yeah, and then we go back to Florida. We'll go to Tampa to visit my mom and brother. My brother plays for the Buccaneers there, and so we get to go to one of his games right after Christmas. But it's just like back to back traveling and really fun. But and that's what I mean. It's like slow because I don't have as much work, but like my life is still fast paced. So it's been just like an interesting time. But I am really excited about Thanksgiving coming up, getting to spend it with all of Zach's family. We absolutely love them. They actually live like pretty close to us here, and we do like monthly family dinners. But we used to, when we lived in Georgia, do like a week for Thanksgiving where we would go and stay with them. So it's pretty special that for Thanksgiving, it's not just one day with them, but that it's like the whole week, kind of like it used to be when we didn't live here. So we're excited about that. But speaking of Thanksgiving, Black Friday is coming up, our favorite day of the year, right? I mean, all the photographers are like, yeah, I'm about to spend so much money on all my new gear. But I do have a Black Friday launch coming up. I'm going to let you guys find out with everybody else. Most of the time, I let you guys in early on stuff, and you can always count on me to do that. But this time, I'm going to let you guys find out on Black Friday too. So, or the week of Black Friday, I guess. But yeah, I'm really excited about this launch. I think you guys are going to really, really like it. So keep your eyes peeled. I think you're going to like it. You have to let me know what you think too, because I'm so excited to share it with you guys. Okay. That's all my life update stuff. I feel like I just talked really fast, but I was excited to just like chit chat with you guys. Like I said, I haven't done just like me and you episodes in a minute. So I'm excited. But all that to say, the Ask Alex advice column. Cue the theme song here. I won't make Zach make a theme song for this one. He already made a theme song for the podcast. That's enough. Okay. I'm just going to go through the questions. Basically, so you guys know how I kind of like structured this. I just posted on my Instagram story and said, like, with a little, like, question box and said, like, hey, if you want advice on something, I'm going to do an advice column episode. Ask away. And you did. You guys delivered on the questions. So basically, you guys put a bunch of questions. I read through all of them and I pick and chose the ones that I felt like would be most beneficial for everyone. And then I had a couple that were like repeat questions. And so I was like, oh, for sure, I'll have those. So the first one was a repeat question. And then there was a couple others in here that were repeats. So I figured, okay, might as well put those in since multiple people were asking for it. Okay. Here we go. The Ask Alex advice column. Question number 1. Here we go. Tips on starting a podcast. Well, welcome to the podcast community. Okay. Somebody wanting to start a podcast. This is the one where I was like, oh, I definitely had multiple of those, which I thought was kind of interesting. I wasn't expecting that. So I picked a couple tips that I felt like would be really helpful because personally, these are things that like I really felt like I needed to have locked in before starting the podcast. So felt like they would be helpful for you too. The first one kind of goes along with the second one, okay? I'm warning you now. But the first tip is to pick a sustainable schedule for your episodes. And then the second tip is to stay consistent. So I say those at the same time because, like I said, I feel like they kind of go together. The way that you pick a sustainable schedule is by knowing how well you can stay consistent with it. So for me, my podcast drop every Thursday, right? Every single Thursday, which means that I have a lot of podcast episodes to record. Sometimes I batch them, sometimes I do them week of. Like this one that's coming out, I'm doing this week of because I got a little bit behind. And it can feel like pressure sometimes to do it if you don't really love to record, right? So you don't ever want it to feel like, oh, I have to record a podcast. And will it feel that way some? Sure, if you're having a bad day, right? But you need to make sure that whatever schedule you pick feels like you can stay consistent with it and like you love what you do because you never want to like commit to something so hard that you like end up hating it. You know what I mean? So you got to be careful about that. The other thing I would say is to know your audience and plan focused episodes. So, for example, my audience is creatives and photographers. So, with that, I can plan focused episodes surrounding photography. I have guests on that surround photography. Now, that's a pretty heavy niche. You don't have to do that if you want to do something more like life based, but I would pick things that you know you're really good at and that people want to hear from you talking about, if that makes sense. I said that kind of in a weird way, but y'all know what I mean. And then the other thing I would say is to invest in decent audio quality stuff. So for me, it was kind of nice because my husband, Zach, is a musician. I actually already had all this stuff. Well, Zach had it, and now I just borrow it technically. But what I can do is link it in my Amazon storefront, which is the link to that is in my Instagram bio. If any of you guys are interested, I'll just do like podcast stuff and you guys can look at it. I'll probably put what we have and then I'll put like the cheaper option too for anyone who maybe needs to be on the cheaper side for it. Yeah, I'll do that for you guys. Okay, next question. Most important tips for senior photos and your fave lens for senior photos. Okay. Obviously, I could give you guys a million tips about seniors because you know I love my seniors and that I mainly do senior photography. But the biggest tip that I could tell you guys is to just make sure that your seniors feel comfortable. That is the biggest reason why my seniors book me. Like I always have in my booking form, like, what are you most looking for when booking senior photographer? And the reason they're coming to me is because they feel like I can help them feel comfortable. Now, a lot of that comes from my posing videos, right? Because I post posing videos on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. And they're seeing that. So the big thing is to make them feel comfortable, but not just at the shoot. These people are booking me because they're seeing that I'm posting things on Instagram or TikTok that they're resonating with. And those things make them feel comfortable. I hope that makes sense. So, like, we're going to make them feel comfortable before they ever book because you want people to reach out to you because of that. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to make sure that they feel comfortable to be themselves in front of you, that they feel comfortable to have you pick something out of their hair if they get like something like a leaf in their hair or something like that. Like you don't ever want someone to feel uncomfortable in front of your camera because you can tell. Like as photographers, we know that that is so important. So we're going to build trust and make sure that they feel comfortable even before shooting. Something that I like to do that begins like more so at the shoot. I like to do like a walk and talk. So basically, what I mean by that is I'm not going to meet my senior exactly where we're going to start shooting. Like I'm not going to shake their hand and be like, actually, I don't shake hands. I hug. I'm like, "Hi, I'm Alex," and give them a hug. But I'm not going to do that and have that whole moment like in the exact spot that I'm going to be like, "Okay, now drop your stuff. We're going to go ahead and pose you and get you in." No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to meet them in the parking lot first and walk to the location with them, because on that walk, it gets the small talk going. We get the small talk out of the way, and then we start just jiving, becoming friends. Jiving? When have I ever said that word in my life? What? Okay, so we just start jiving. Maybe I need to say that more. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, you guys know what I mean. Like, you're going to make them feel comfortable before you ever stick a lens in their face. I think that is so important for seniors so that you can jive. I'm done. Anyway, making it all about them is also really important. And again, that happens throughout your client experience. So for me, I send questionnaires. 90% of my senior questionnaire is just about them and about their life and asking random questions about them, because people love to talk about themselves, right? Like giving people an opportunity to talk and share about their lives is so important. It helps them to feel seen and known and loved from the beginning of the shoot or even before it. And then 10% of it is stuff that is like actually pertainable to the photos. The rest of it is just about them and making them feel like this is a really big them moment, like experience for them as a person. Over communicating always is really important, especially with seniors. If a senior is booking you, making sure that you are over communicating everything, because otherwise you're either going to get a lot of confusion. Sometimes there's confusion on, when the shoot is and all that kind of stuff, like the basic stuff of the details of the photo shoot. You want to over communicate, but also things like FAQs are really important, because otherwise a lot of them have never booked a photographer before. I have parents that are booking their senior photographer, and this is like they've never done family photos. The last time they booked a photographer for themselves was their wedding 25 years ago. Like, there's a lot of people who just don't know the routine of our world. And so helping them with like an FAQ just helps me to not have a million questions being emailed to me all the time, if that makes sense. And then it helps them to trust you too. Changing tent. Listen, I know a lot of photography educators are randomly talking about a changing tent right now. Don't know why, but like, yes, get yourself a changing tent. I've had one for like 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, and it was a game changer. I am telling you, if you need to know how to fold it, I'll send you a video, like DM me for the video and I'll send it to you, because seriously, it changed my life once I learned how to fold it and once I started using it, because that way you don't have to pick locations based on where there are bathrooms and you don't have to walk all the way back to their car. It elevates their experience. It helps them to feel like they're special when they're like, "Oh, I have a changing tent." People think that people are like famous. They'll walk by sometimes if we're like downtown Charleston with the changing tent out. They like walk, they're like staring and looking, and the senior just feels special. It's kind of fun. And then you also asked about my favorite lens for senior photos. And really, what's nice is you can use any lens that you're going to use for a portrait shoot for senior photos. It's not that different. However, I personally like to use my 24 to 70 2.8 because I like that I can zoom. I shoot Sony, and I just heard that Sony is coming out with a 24 to 70 2.0. So that's kind of fun. We're coming for you, Canon users. Yeah, so I'll probably switch to that eventually, just when I feel like, I have the money and want to. But for now, my 2.8 works. Okay, next question. I love this question, and I had a lot of people asking a similar question to this as well. Is niching down really that important? I'm having a hard time saying no to new experiences. Okay, here is my Ask Alex hot take, okay? I don't think niching down is that important. All the gasps. No, okay. I do think it's important depending on who you are, where you're located. Like there's just so many different variables that can go into niching. And when I first started in the business, for whatever reason, niching was like a big, big topic where so many people were like screaming from the rooftops, you need to niche down or you won't be a successful photographer. And I disagree with that. Okay. I think you absolutely can be a successful photographer and do more than one thing. So, for example, I have niche down, right? You guys know I love my seniors, but I also shoot brands. I have two niches. I will likely never go to one specific niche because I actually like having two. When there is a slow season for seniors, it picks up with my brands. And I like the ebb and flow of that, right? So there's like a strategic side to having two niches, having more than one. But also, I can combat that by saying, like that thought process, by saying that me niching into seniors really, really, really helped me to establish myself in Charleston. So I do think that niching down, depending on your location and depending on everything else in your business, can be really, really, really smart because it helps you to set yourself apart. So I think that's really important if you're in a saturated area or market, setting yourself apart with a unique thing, and that thing was my niche, is really important. I will also say though that I think niching down is more important with your style than it is what exactly you're shooting. So let me give you kind of what I mean by this. I think it's more important to niche down how you edit and how you brand yourself than it is like the exact market that you're going after. So, the reason why I say that is because every season could be different for your life. But if you know your style, then that can seamlessly shift in and out with what you shoot and what you want to shoot. So, I think that's really important. I also think that if you are in a smaller town, being your town's go to photographer is a really like awesome thing, and it can make you wildly successful if you're able to versatilely shoot a family shoot and that child all the way up until they're a senior. And then when the senior leaves and the mom starts her own business, you shoot branding photos for the mom's business. And then one of the mom's business's people that are in the branding shoot is getting married and you shoot their wedding. Like there's part of that that's actually a really cool hustle to it if you're in a small town. For me, that would be overwhelming in Charleston because it's a little bit bigger, right? And again, to set myself apart from this oversaturation of our market here, I'm going to do something different. But I just think like it's not as important as some people say it is. So that's my hot take. Yeah, I just think there's like multiple thought processes to go with both. But I do think like niching down in your style is very, very important because it's what people are going to look at most of the time. And it gives you longevity if you can niche down in your style versus what you shoot is just, it could be seasonal. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I think I said all my piece on that. Okay, next one. I would love tips on workflow with organizing HoneyBook for noobs if you use that. Why, yes, I do. I love HoneyBook. If you know me, you know I love organization. I love workflow. So, this question, when I saw it, I literally smiled. I was like, yes, this is a good question for me. So, okay, let's talk about a couple things. First thing that I want you guys to all to use if you use HoneyBook. Well, let me back up. Let me tell you what HoneyBook is for some of you who maybe are listening to this and you're like, excuse me, what? Like, what are you talking about? HoneyBook is a client relations software. So I use it for all of my clients. It's where they book, it's where I communicate, and it's pretty much like everything to me. It is like my lifeline in my business, honestly. It is the best investment, hands down, that I've ever had in my business. And I'm not sponsored by HoneyBook, okay? This is just me saying this. But I do have an affiliate link. So if you guys do want to like, support me and you're interested in getting a discount on HoneyBook and I think a free trial too, the link is in my bio on Instagram. You can totally go look at it. And I'll put it in the show notes for you too. But anyway, let's talk about a couple ways that you can utilize HoneyBook in your business. So One thing I want you to do is use templates. I want you to use email templates. And then you're also going to do a template for your FAQ, your invoice, and your contract. That can all be one. You don't need those to be separate. And then you're also going to do a template for a questionnaire. And I want to walk you through why I think that's important. First of all, time, okay? Saving time in those emails that you send all the time, game changing, mind blowing. I'm telling you, like it saves you so much time when you don't have to type out every single word. All you have to do is scroll down to the email that you want, you hit click, and then you hit send. HoneyBook can even do it where like it sends to their first name, like the client's first name, and you don't even have to type anything to personalize it because HoneyBook does it for you, which is pretty great. Like go technology, okay? Your FAQ, your invoice, and your contract, that's great because you know that you're sending the same thing every time. It's a consistent client experience when you're using templates. And then your questionnaire template is really great because when somebody books, when they go ahead and like fill out their contract, they sign it, and then they pay their deposit, you can just email them back a questionnaire right away because you have the template already done. And it just like, again, it streamlines your process and it helps you to feel, or it helps the client to feel like they can trust you from the get-go. So I think that's super important. Another way that you can use HoneyBook is by using tasks and workflows to stay organized. Like if you have a project in HoneyBook and you know you have these three things to get done for that client, you can actually put it in HoneyBook and HoneyBook will remind you that you need to do those things. So you can like actually put tasks in there. And it just helps with your workflow overall, basically. And then you can automate reminders and follow ups. This is a big one for me. I send my file, and if my file, like say it's the FAQ, the invoice, and the contract, right? When that is sent out, if they haven't opened it in 3 days, I have HoneyBook set to automatically send them another email that's a follow up email. So it's great because what I used to have to do is look through who I need to follow up with. And now HoneyBook does it for me. If they haven't opened that file, they're going to say, hey, reminder to open up. I typed out the email, like whatever it was. It's like reminder to take a look at the file so you can move forward with your project, something like that. But like 3 days and I don't have to do anything. It's great. And then the last thing that I really, really, really want to hone in on is storing everything in HoneyBook. Do not DM. Do not text. Okay. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but this is just my opinion. This is the Ask Alex advice column. Okay. I'm just going hard on this. But seriously, like when everything is in one place, it's so seamless to be able to go back to it. And the big question when it comes to organization and workflow that I always ask myself is like, if I had an influx of clients, is my business able to care for them? Like, is my business able to do what it should do in order to get them through my funnel, my pipeline, whatever you want to call it? And if not, then I have some work to do. And it's a great time right now because it is slower season for us. We're going into that. We're going into those winter months where you can just really work hard on this and make sure that for all of 2025, you are like locked in with your organization because obviously we all want that like big blow up on social media, right? But the goal isn't the big blow up on social media. That should not be our goal. Like, what does that matter if we're not getting clients from it? Of course, right? The goal is that we would have an influx of clients from a video that maybe goes viral or whatever. Like, that's why we market. And if a bunch of clients came in today, would you be able to care for them well? Well, I bet you would a lot more if you had those templates, if you had the automations, if you had, oh, I didn't talk about automations. I guess I will in a second. But if you had those tasks set for yourself. But the other thing that I was going to say, like obviously I talked about the automation reminders and follow-ups, but also make sure that you have automation set for like, okay, maybe not make sure. Sorry, this is a harsh one. I'm just really passionate about the organization, okay? I personally like to make sure that my automations are set for if I have a senior that fills out a form, there's an automated email that goes back to them with my pricing and package details. And basically, that means you need to have different contact forms if you're going to do it that way. You need to have different contact forms, one for couples, one for seniors, one for whatever, you're offering, but you can tell HoneyBook to send back a file or just an email with all the information that they need right away. Because sometimes it is like a time game when you're booking. Like sometimes, especially for like the wedding world, the first one to get back to them wins. So why don't we just be the first one to get back to them with automations. And it's great too because it means that I can do something like photo camp. And photo camp is a big thing for me, right? Like, obviously, it's huge in my business, but it's also a lot of time. And I can focus more on photo camp because I have automations going on HoneyBook to where none of my clients feel like they haven't been heard from, um, or heard that they haven't heard from me. You guys know what I mean. Because I have automations going the whole time. It's also really helpful for over a weekend because it means I can usually take a weekend off without emailing my clients because I have those automations going. Okay, I'm going to move on. I'm having a hard time booking branding shoots for local businesses. Any tips? Okay, I love this question too because I think it is like really hard to get yourself out there with branding, or with like branding shoots or just like brands in general, because a lot of the time brands don't tag you unless they're like service based brands where you're doing branding photos for like a hairstylist or something like that. They'll of course, tag you and stuff. But when you're doing something for like a large company or even like a small business that's like promoting, fashion or something like that, the chances of them tagging you are pretty slim. And it's a little bit different than what we're used to in the couples world or the senior world or whatever, right? So it's just different because there aren't going to be people that are finding you through people tagging you in the same way that there is in like those lifestyle shoots. So you have to pitch. So here's what I personally do. I choose 10 businesses at a time and I pitch to all 10. I don't have them on the same email, right? I make the email very personalized. I put certain and specific things in the email that has to do with the company, but I also attach a one-page portfolio. What I like to do for those 10 businesses is I make them kind of like the same niche, for lack of a better word, because we were talking about niching earlier. But like, say they're all surf brands in Charleston. I'm going to make that one page portfolio aesthetically pleasing to a surf brand. Like, I'm going to make those shoots that I'm putting on my one page portfolio be attractive to those brands specifically that I'm reaching out to. Because if I use that page portfolio, but I'm reaching out to a kids brand, they're going to look at it and be like, no, she's not a good fit for our brand. So I want to make sure to show them I am a good fit. I've done work like this, even if they're just styled shoots that I'm putting on this one page portfolio. But like, I can work for your company and I can do really well. Here's my portfolio, right? So when I send that out, though, I know that they're also likely getting an influx of other photographers reaching out to them. So when you send those 10, don't have in your head that I'm about to book 10 clients, because chances are you're going to book three. Okay. Like, not to knock you down a little bit, but like, that's how it is for me. I know I'm probably going to book three of these, and I always follow up. And if they don't respond, and sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say they'll put me on their list and they never get back to me. Like, it's just part of the name of the game. But there are other times too where they don't get back to me or whatever, like they say no. And then I pitch again in a year and I've grown and they've grown and life has changed and they say yes. So kind of make a list, maybe make like a Google Doc spreadsheet that has like all of the people that you're reaching out to and your follow up dates on it. That might help you to stay organized with it. But I think that's really important. The other thing too that you can do is attend like local events, whether that's like networking events. Sometimes you can pay for them. I know Charleston has a lot of those. I personally don't go to a lot of those, but one thing that I did do when I first moved here was go to a lot of the markets, because we have a lot of like local markets here, and there were a lot of local boutiques that I wanted to work with that were there. The local boutiques, though, for that, I will say had lower budgets than I was hoping. So that's just something you have to note. Like, if you're, face to face with the owner and it's a local person at a market, they might not have the budget that you're kind of hoping for or expecting them to have, even though they're running a business. So, okay. That's all I got. Okay. I love listening to your podcast every week. Why did you switch from Canon to Sony? Well, thank you. I'm so glad that you listen every week. That makes me so happy. Seriously, guys, like, I'm so grateful for you guys and I'm grateful that you listen. Okay, this is actually, I literally just put this in here because I think it's so funny. I get this question a lot because I have talked about it a lot, but I don't really share like the full reasons most of the time. So I just decided to spill the beans on the pod because I think it's so funny. I literally switched from Canon to Sony because A, it was cheaper. And B, I had neck problems with Canon. Okay, that makes me sound so old. I'm done. Okay, so I don't know how much I've shared about this on the podcast, but I have an inflammatory disease. So basically, like, my body has a lot of pain, and that's just something that I deal with in my life, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Before I switched from Canon to Sony, I was shooting on a 5D Mark IV. So I wasn't mirrorless yet. And it was really, really, really hurting my neck. Like, it was like hurting my neck and my shoulders because the camera was so heavy and I had a 24 to 70 on it and it was so heavy. And basically, I knew I wanted to upgrade to mirrorless because it was going to be lighter. I assumed at that time that I would just stick with Canon because I never had any issues with Canon. I really liked Canon. But I, at the time, had just moved to Charleston and we were trying to be a little bit more on the penny pinching side. And I found a really cheap Sony on Facebook Marketplace. And I knew that I had found a good Canon, but I had known that, okay, I was not going to be able to buy the lens that goes with it, which means I would have to get an adapter for my 24 to 70, making it heavier. And the Sony that I found on Facebook was lighter. The body itself was lighter anyway. And so I was like, guess I'm switching to Sony. And so literally I switched to Sony because I was having neck problems. Okay. Which I just think is so funny. But I do love Sony. I also loved my Canon. No hate against Canon. No hate against Nikon too. I love when I use my friend Preston's Nikon to take pictures of him or whatever when we do like photo swaps. I love it too. So really no hate. The big difference that I did see for anyone who is wondering, I noticed a big difference in the coloring. The coloring of Canon is a lot more saturated than Sony. And so it did change my editing just slightly. It was actually kind of awesome because I was about to release my Coastal Charm presets at that time. So it was great because I was able to do some like fine tune and kind of tweaking when I switched to Sony, realizing that the coloring on different cameras are quite different. So yeah, basically that was it. I just think it was funny. Only one person asked that, but I had to add it because I just think it's hilarious. Okay, here we go. Next one. How to overcome low self-esteem about your own career, photography. Okay. First of all, I'm really sorry that you're feeling that way. It sucks to feel low self-esteem or to feel insecurity just in general. Like, that's never a good thing. It just sucks. um so I hate that you're dealing with that. One thing that I would say is to always revisit your why when you're feeling kind of down about things like that. I think for whatever reason, because we take pictures of people and we pose people, there can often be a misconception that photography and working in our world is vain or conceited. Um, but also there's the side too where like it's an art form. And so depending on your family of origin, depending on like where you have grown up and the people around you, it can be looked down upon because it's an art and you're pursuing art at the same time. So it's kind of both of those worlds. And again, I don't know where you're coming from in this or like why you're dealing with the low self-esteem, but I do think like when you go back to a why, you can combat both of those things pretty heavily. So it's not just about appearances. It's not just about looks. It's about making people have confidence and really like letting go of insecurity. Like whatever your why personally is, going back to that is really important because you can use it to combat the lies that are surrounding you. Um, so yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking. I also think like it's important to celebrate your progress instead of comparing yourself to others. And that goes into the one where it's like, oh, if people are looking down on photography around you because it's an art form and they would rather you, I don't know, be a doctor or something like that. I don't know. But like comparing your own wins because photography can also be successful financially. Compare and yeah, I mean, doctors make a lot, but you know what I mean? Like, it can also be successful in comparing like yourself to the wins of a doctor or to the wins of a teacher or whatever it is. I don't know. Like looking at your own wins and celebrating those instead of comparing them because comparison is the thief of joy. It will steal it every single time. I think C.S. Lewis said that. That wasn't a me quote. But it is. Comparison is the thief of joy and you don't want it to let you to steal your joy. Like we don't need to do that here. We don't have time for that. And then the other thing that I would say too is to surround yourself with encouraging community and being able to share your wins with that community. So, because I personally know who wrote this because it wasn't anonymous, I know you came to photo camp. And I know you have people around you that you can celebrate your wins with. I know that you can like wrap arms around each other and you can even just chat in our, in our group chat, like, and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Like, let people come around you and let them in. Don't like be shy about how you're feeling and what you're dealing with, because there are probably other people who are dealing with it too. And they just don't talk about it because they don't think that anyone else resonates with it. So be the one that like leads the way in that. Talk about it. Okay, next one. Okay, I kind of already talked about this a little bit, but advice for setting up a way for clients to book and your preferred booking program. So I use HoneyBook. Obviously, I already harped on HoneyBook a lot. Go use my discount code, all the things. But what I would say too is it's really important to like have your booking link be everywhere. And it's okay to have just one link. I personally like to have it split up because I do like the automations, but I have it in my link tree, but I also have it on my website. So sometimes I feel like because of our digital age, a website can, I think it's important to have a website, but I also think it can be a hindrance if the only way that they can book is by going to your website. So having it like in your bio is really important too. I never, ever, ever do any bookings over text or DMs or anything like that. Everything is done through HoneyBook so that I can go back and look at it and it be clear. Okay. How to balance personal life and working for yourself. Okay. I'm super passionate about this too because I love the fact that I get to work for myself and I love the fact that I get to travel whenever I want, kind of like I was saying. I absolutely love that. But it's also helpful for me too because Zach and I actually lead a church as well. And Zach is on staff with the church. I'm not, but like the responsibilities that we have to like care for people and love on them and create community everywhere we go and all of that kind of stuff, it's us together in that. And I like that photography gives me the freedom to be able to do those things and to have like ministry with people as well. So it's super important to me, so I love that. Okay, set boundaries and stick to dedicated work hours. I know that is hard. Like I know you hear that and you're like, but I'm like dictated by other people's schedules. Okay. If you're a wedding photographer, this is a little bit different for you. So I'm not talking to you right now, but everyone else, if you're just doing sessions, right? Like for me, I do seniors. If you're doing sessions and they want to book you, you don't always have to go by their calendar. You can tell them, these are the dates I'm available, and they can pick from those dates. Done. So here's what I do. I actually, for my seniors, I have the automated email that goes back to them with a scheduler in it. And they actually schedule their session without ever really even talking to me personally, because I know that I take all seniors, right? I'm not picky about my seniors, blah, blah, blah. But like they pick based on the dates that I have put in. I shoot 2 days a week. And for seniors, I shoot 2 days a week, 2 evenings a week. And sometimes a weekend, like once a month to bi-monthly sometimes. But like I put those in. So like I'm not dictated by their schedule because I know when I want to do shoots. So I'm going to put those in and they're going to pick from what I tell them I'm available for. So you're not dictated by their schedule as much as you think they are. Back to wedding photographers, I know that's different for you, but you can at least pick how many Saturdays you want to shoot in a year and stuff like that. And then set your boundaries for like work hours. When is that for you? Schedule personal time, prioritize downtime. Make sure that like I have a rest night every week. It's Tuesday nights. I have a rest night. Sunday nights, for anyone who's confused, I moved my small group to Sunday nights. So now I have Tuesday nights free for myself. I talk about my small group a lot. And so I feel like some people would be like, wait a minute, Tuesday's small group. Yeah, so I have like that rest night that just keeps me in the routine of having a night to myself all the time. That's really helpful. The other thing too is just to ask for help when you need it. It's okay to outsource. It's okay to ask for help from your spouse or your friends, or to ask advice from them, an advice column. Yeah, it's okay to like not have everything all together and to ask for help if you need it. And then the other thing too, similar to when we were talking about like the why, having a why in like why you started this business, why you started this business that has a flexible schedule, I think is important to go back to, because when you have like that goal in mind, you can build your business around that goal. Like for me, and this is just being super vulnerable, a big goal in my business is that it would fuel our ministry. Like Zach and I love, again, to like lead our church, and like I love the community that I have as a part of it. But church for me, and like, okay, this is being real vulnerable. Here we go. But like, but like my story with Jesus and what he's doing in my friends will always come first. And because of that, it dictates how I schedule my life and how I schedule my week. Because that is my ultimate goal. So I hope that makes sense. So you just have to figure out what your ultimate goal is and then stay focused on that so that you can build your life around it. Okay, last one, and then we're going to be done for the day. How to find seniors to get into the senior market when you wait, hold on. What? How to find seniors to get into the senior market more when you/your family don't know any high schoolers. Like even how to find a couple seniors to model for you or to get more portfolio work of seniors. Sorry, that took me a second to read that one. Basically, how do you find seniors if you don't know any seniors? Okay. Again, love that you're asking this question because you know I love me, my seniors. My senior team is awesome. Okay. A couple things. A, you can offer a free model call for seniors specifically and promote it on Instagram. That is always a helpful thing. You never know what might come of it. Maybe you've tried that before and nothing came of it, but maybe you haven't and you just try it and see, right? You never know. The other thing that I would say too is just because you and your family don't know any high schoolers doesn't mean that someone in your circle doesn't. Everyone knows someone. So even if it's like a distant relative or it's like a couple like degrees away, that's okay. But like ask around and say, hey, do you know anyone in high school? The other thing too is it doesn't have to be a senior. It could also be a junior, and you could begin working with juniors now for free in hopes that they'll book you, and as they post, their friends will book you the next year. And juniors are also friends with seniors. So you can like try to be hooked up with any high schoolers, right? It doesn't have to just be seniors. The other thing too that you can do is DM them. I did that a lot when I moved to Charleston, and I did it too when I was getting into seniors in Georgia. But yeah, finding like if you find one senior, this is so creepy. Okay, we're not going to be creepy with this, and you need to find your way of not being creepy because you could get flagged real quickly. But like if you find one senior, they tend to tag a lot of their friends, right? And you can also find them through schools and sports teams and stuff like that on Instagram. That's really helpful. But please, please, please do not be creepy, and make sure, especially if you are a guy, and I know that's a little sexist, but it's the age we live in, okay? You have to be extra careful when you are DMing female girls or guys, I guess, really anyone. Just don't be creepy. But showing them examples of your work, because if you're a photographer asking this, you likely have some work to show, right? Maybe it's couples, maybe it's from a portfolio weekend, like photo camp, whatever. But like send those photos as examples of your work so that they see you're not just spam. Like these are things you've actually done, but you just want to get more content of seniors. You can offer them a discount, you can offer them a free shoot, whatever you want to do, but don't do that with too many people, because you want to make sure that like you still value your work and that they see, like those high schoolers see your work as valuable. Yeah. Okay. That's what I got. Oh, one more thing. If you do free work, make sure that you post a ton of content from it, like milk it for all it's got kind of thing. You're going to take a video if you have glasses or your phone, like Meta glasses, or on your phone, you're going to take a video behind the scenes for that. You're going to ask a friend to come with you and take behind the scenes. You're going to post the pictures. You're going to post like on your story. You're going to post a reel with it and the pictures. Like you're going to post everything, because if you're shooting for free, you want to make sure it's always worth it. But seniors specifically will see that and they will book. So that is all I've got for today, guys. That was a fun episode of getting to do the very first Ask Alex advice column. I would love to do this again. I think it's fun to get to like it feels like chatting with you guys when it's like your question specifically. So I'll probably do another episode like this in the future. Let me know if you loved any of those answers. Let me know if you hated any of those answers. Like, just DM me. This is a community, okay? I mean, be nice, obviously, but but like, yeah, just I love the podcast because it gets me like in with you guys a little bit more. Like I feel like Instagram is so cool and TikTok is so cool because it makes the world a smaller place, but like the podcast even more so. Like I get to like actually get to know our community even more and get to know you. So anyway, DM me if you have any episodes you want to hear from me, or yeah, that's all I got. Oh yeah, apply to photo camp if you want to come in March 2025. We have 10 styled shoots, 5 educational speakers, and we're all in a luxury camp house by the beach. So I know you want to be there. It's going to be great. I would love to get to meet you and get to shoot with you and be creative. Okay, I will see you guys next Thursday. Bye.